Hello again, my name is Gabe Zolna. This is the 18th of February 2018. Just read an article on CBS News. In many U.S. states, 18 is old enough to buy a semi-automatic. Just months after his 18th birthday, Nicholas Cruz went to a Florida gun store to buy a weapon, but there were limits on what he could purchase at that age. Cruz wasn't old enough to buy one of the handguns at the store, but there's no such restriction for rifles, shotguns, or the AR-15 that police say he used to carry out the nation's deadliest school shooting in more than 5 years. The young age of the man accused in the Florida high school shooting that killed 17 people had revived the debate over age requirements for gun purchases in a country where a patchwork of laws and rural states stepped in hunting culture allow kids as young as 14 to buy rifles. You want to read the rest of the article, but here's what I find real interesting. What I find real interesting is that Cruz wasn't on the no-buy list, which he should have been on, based on having the police in Broward County visit his home. Was it 39 times? Who the hell dropped the ball there, huh? And you know what's really interesting? Do you know how many people die on average from handguns in the United States each year? I want you to think about that answer. I'll tell you in a moment. It's also in this article. Do you know how many people die in car accidents each year? Well, on average, 13,000 people die each year from guns. The majority of them from handguns. But the AR-15 gets special notice based on the number that those shooters are able to kill at one time. 1.3 million people die in car accidents each year. 1.3 million. Do you hear the Democrats talking about that at all? No, they're talking about 13,000, not 1.3 million. Why don't they focus their energies and attention on creating safer ways for people to use the roads? How many of those 1.3 million are alcohol or drug-induced accidents? Folks, this whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. Cruz should have been on that list. When I go to buy a gun, I have a concealed carry permit. That sort of expedites the process. But they still check, because that concealed carry permit could have been revoked or canceled. They check. They call the FBI, and they give them my name. A search is done on my name. And if I'm good to go, I get the gun. If I'm not, there's a hold. I think it's a 3 to 5 day hold until they can clear whatever they have to clear. This Nicholas Cruz should have been on that list based on the countless visits by the Broward Sheriff's Office. I think there's all kinds of ample grounds for lawsuits against both the FBI and the police department for not having Nicholas on that list. And again, they're just going after our guns. The AR-15 is the first step. If they get those, they'll go after all of our guns, and eventually they'll get these. That's what it's always been about. How do you compare 13,000 handgun deaths a year to 1.3 million car accident deaths a year? Or how about drug overdoses? Huh? Why don't they focus in on that? Why don't they stop the heroin from being brought in from Afghanistan? Huh? Why don't they talk about that? Instead, they talk about these. Absolutely nuts. That's sort of what I think. Read the article. It's interesting how young as 14-year-olds can buy these long guns. That's a little scary. You know, I've said this before. What's really crazy is the different laws in different states and the punishments associated with specific crimes are different in different states. You'd think they'd get their act together, wouldn't you? Thanks for listening. Let me know what you think. You know what I think, don't you?